Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're dropping you right into the chaotic, terrifying mud of World War I. Our mission, to help you secure those top-tier Grade 9 marks on Ted Hughes's absolutely visceral poem, Bayonet Charge. If you're looking for the ultimate GCSE study guide packed with deep analysis, hints, and exam tips for maximum marks, you are in exactly the right place. So let's just dive right into it.
We're going to start exactly where Hughes does, in medias res. Now, this is a fancy literary term that just means beginning right in the middle of the action. Hughes uses this technique from the very first word, suddenly, literally waking us up in the middle of a frantic, terrifying sprint across no man's land. Dropping this term in your essay is a total Grade 9 move to immediately grab your examiner's attention, because it proves you understand how Hughes is structuring the text to disorient the reader, exactly like the soldier is disoriented.
Here's our roadmap to max marks today. We're covering Into the Chaos of War, Hughes and WWI context, decoding form and structure, language and imagery, and finally, those essential Grade 9 comparisons.
Okay, Section 1, Into the Chaos of War. Let's actually look at what's happening to this unnamed soldier as he goes over the top. This quote is brilliant because it completely strips away any kind of heroic buildup. Suddenly, he awoke and was running. Think about that. It's not some calculated, brave military advance. It's a guy reduced to pure, confused survival instinct. He is literally propelled forward before his own brain can even catch up to what his legs are doing. And notice that repetition of the word raw. It just hammers home his vulnerability, the awful physical discomfort of that hot, cocky uniform, and the sheer terrifying lack of preparation he's feeling in this exact moment.
Moving on to Section 2, Hughes and the World War I context.
To really grasp why this poem feels so suffocating and desperate, we've got to look at the context. Now, Ted Hughes himself never actually fought in World War I. He wrote this in a post-war era, 1957 to be exact. But the poem is deeply, deeply influenced by his father, who was a survivor of the unbelievably brutal Gallipoli campaign. His dad was one of only 17 men in his entire regiment to survive, and he came back emotionally paralyzed, traumatized. So Hughes essentially grew up in a landscape that seemed to just constantly mourn for the First World War, carrying the heavy weight of his father's suffering.
So why even write it decades later? Well, Hughes wrote this as a powerful tribute to his father's trauma, for sure, but it's also a way to completely demystify all that glorified war propaganda. He's highlighting the massive, shocking gap between the noble, shiny ideals sold to the British public and the terrifying, muddy reality his father actually had to endure. He wants to show us the intense psychological transformation of a man who is entirely stripped of his patriotism and knocked right down to a primal state of fear. All right, Section 3, Decoding Form and Structure.
You know, you can't get top marks just by talking about the story of the poem. You absolutely have to talk about how it's built. Treat these terms like your elite examiner cheat codes. First, enjambment. That's when a sentence just spills right over a line break without stopping, which really speeds things up. Then you have caesura, which is a sudden harsh pause or punctuation break smack in the middle of a line, literally forcing you to stop reading. Hughes uses both of these highly intentionally as weapons to manipulate the pace of the poem and mess with your reading experience.
Let's see how this actually works in practice. If you compare the stanzas, you'll see that stanza 1 is basically a single, breathless, panicked sentence. That heavy enjambment perfectly mimics the soldier's chaotic, unthinking sprint. But then, that rapid momentum crashes right into stanza 2, which is absolutely loaded with caesuras. Those sudden, jarring pauses mirror the soldier literally freezing in terror. He stops mid-stride to question what on earth he is even doing there. It is a structural masterpiece because the formatting on the page perfectly mirrors the physical action out on the battlefield.
Let's get into Section 4, Language and Powerful Imagery.
Okay, these are the golden quotes you absolutely must memorize to show how war dehumanizes a person. Just look at this visceral simile, sweating like molten iron. This vividly shows how those abstract patriotic ideals, that noble patriotic tear, completely melt and dissolve under the insane pressure of combat. What started as a proud, noble feeling is painfully forged into a heavy, terrifying physical reality of survival. The emotional burden is literally burning him from the inside out.
And this line? Absolute knockout for analysis. The harsh, biting alliteration of cold clockwork proves a really crucial point. In that frozen moment of caesura we talked about earlier, the soldier realizes he is nothing more than an emotionless mechanical cog. He's just this tiny, totally insignificant piece being manipulated by distant, safe political leaders, the stars and the nations. The universe is completely indifferent to his suffering. He's just a hand on a clock ticking down to his own destruction.
And then, right when this soldier pauses to question his entire existence, a yellow hair is violently thrown into his path. It's so jarring, right? Like, what exactly is Hughes doing here? Why suddenly introduce a rabbit into the middle of a raging war zone?
Nailing the symbolism of this hair is your ultimate grade 9 insight. The hair represents nature being completely corrupted by human war. It's described as rolling like a flame, in a threshing circle, its mouth wide open and silent. It is a perfect, tragic mirror for the soldier's own frantic, animalistic struggle. Watching this innocent creature suffer jolts the soldier back into action, but it's an action that is now totally devoid of meaning. Things like king, honor, human dignity are dropped like absolute luxuries. He can't afford them anymore. It's just pure primal survival now.
Finally, Section 5, Essential Grade 9 Comparisons.
All right, this is the ultimate exam prize right here, our masterclass on comparisons. Consider this your ninja cheat sheet. If you're comparing Hughes to another poem in your anthology, Tennyson's Charge of the Light Brigade is a phenomenal choice. Why? Because you are directly comparing Hughes's solitary, chaotic sprint and mechanical terror in World War I against Tennyson's highly ordered, collective glory of the cavalry during the Crimean War. It's a perfect contrast.
Just look at the direct clash on the whole concept of honor here. Tennyson, who, keep in mind, was the poet laureate at the time, creates this highly structured national myth to immortalize brave martyrs. He literally commands the reader to honor the charge they made. But Hughes, writing from that traumatized post-war perspective, completely shatters that illusion. He proves that high-minded concepts like honor and dignity vanish instantly in the mud of the trenches. They're just tossed aside like luxuries the second real bullets start flying.
If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer, lock this elite thesis statement into your brain. You can drop this right into your exam introduction to show the examiner exactly how both poets explore the profound transformation of men in battle, but from wildly different perspectives. Tennyson's steady rhythm builds a shiny monument to obedience, while Hughes's fragmented, broken, and jammed lines expose the raw, unheroic terror of a single desperate man.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. By placing that innocent, patriotic tear right up against the unfeeling, cold clockwork, Hughes asks a question that resonates way beyond a GCSE exam. How do we ever reconcile the grand, sweeping myths of glorious warfare with the agonizing, mechanical reality faced by a single, terrified soldier stumbling blindly through the mud? Think about that as you review your notes. Good luck with your studies, and keep digging deep into these texts.